The moment Richard Hale stepped into his marble-floored mansion, he froze. Through the glass doors leading to the kitchen, he saw his only son, sitting on the counter, laughing. Next to him stood a young black maid, wearing the simple gray uniform of the staff. But it wasn't the uniform that caught Richard's attention. It was the way his son was looking at her, softly, tenderly, like she was the only person in the world. "Ethan," Richard called, his voice sharp enough to slice through the silence. The laughter stopped. The girl turned. Her hands instantly went behind her back, as if she'd been caught doing something wrong. Ethan slid off the counter, guilt flashing across his face. "Dad, you're home early," he said quickly. "I can see that," Richard replied, his eyes not leaving the maid. "Care to explain what's going on here?" She lowered her head. I was just helping your son with dinner." "Sir, dinner?" Richard's tone was cold. "That's not your job. We have a chef for that." Ethan stepped forward, trying to speak, but Richard raised a hand. "Enough. Go to your room now." Ethan hesitated. He looked at the maid, her name tag, read Grace, then back at his father. "She didn't do anything wrong." "Ethan," Richard repeated, his voice trembling this time. "Go." Ethan left quietly. Grace stayed frozen in place, her fingers trembling. Richard finally exhaled, pressing his thumb and forefinger against his temple. "What's your name again?" "Grace, sir." He nodded stiffly. "Pack your things, Grace. You're done here." Her eyes widened. "Sir, please, I didn't mean any harm." "I'm sure you didn't," he said, his tone flat. "But I can't have my son getting attached." She bit her lip, holding back tears. "Yes, sir." As she turned to leave, something made Richard pause. On her wrist, a small gold bracelet caught the light. Old, worn, but familiar. He frowned. "Wait." Grace turned back slowly. "Sir," he pointed at the bracelet. "Where did you get that?" She looked down at it, confused. My mother gave it to me. She passed away when I was 6. Richard's voice softened. "What was her name?" Grace hesitated. Marilyn Carter." The name hit him like a gust of cold wind. His hand dropped to his side. "Marilyn Carter." Grace nodded. "Yes, sir." "You knew her?" He didn't answer. He just stared. Really stared at the girl for the first time. Her eyes, those same deep brown eyes, the same gentle tilt of the nose, the same quiet way she stood when nervous. He whispered, "No, that's not possible." Richard sat alone in his study an hour later, staring at an old photo in his hand. It was of a young woman, black, smiling, radiant. Marilyn Carter. His mind flashed back to 20 years ago. The late nights at the hospital, the charity drives, the one woman who stayed behind to clean up long after everyone else had gone home, and who always left a flower on his desk for luck. He remembered the night she disappeared, the rumors, the heartbreak he never admitted to anyone, and now, her daughter was standing in his house. A knock came at the door. "Sir." Grace's voice was soft. "Come in." She stepped inside, clutching a small bag. Her eyes were swollen from crying. "I just wanted to thank you for letting me work here. I'll leave quietly." He looked up at her. "Grace, do you remember anything about your mother, where you were born?" She frowned. "Not really. I was told we moved a lot. My mom worked for a rich family once. She never talked about it." Richard's throat tightened. "Did she ever mention a man named Hale?" Grace blinked. "Hale, like your name?" He nodded slowly. Her lips parted, confused. "No, but once, when I was little, she showed me a photo. It was of a fancy house, kind of like this one. She said, that's where everything changed." I didn't understand what she meant. Richard's eyes glistened. He stood up, his composure breaking for the first time. "Grace, Marilyn worked for me. She was one of the kindest people I ever met." Grace looked shocked. "You knew her?" He nodded. "More than you think." Before he could say more, the door burst open. Ethan stood there, angry. "What's going on, Dad? Why are you talking to her like that?" "Ethan, please no," Ethan interrupted. "You can't just fire someone because you don't like them. She's done nothing wrong." Richard's jaw clenched. "You don't understand." "Then make me understand." Richard's voice cracked as he said it. "Because she's her daughter, Ethan." The room fell silent. Grace froze. "My mother's what?" "Marilyn Carter." He whispered. "Your mother. She worked here years ago, and he took a deep breath. "She was more than an employee. She was my friend. Someone I failed." Grace's lips trembled. "You knew her all this time?" He nodded slowly. "I thought she moved on. I didn't know she passed away." Ethan looked between them, stunned. "Dad, are you saying yes?" Richard said. "I'm saying I owe this young woman far more than I can ever repay." Grace sank into a chair, her knees weak. "All these years, I wondered why my mom cried when she thought I wasn't looking. She used to say, sometimes love isn't meant to last. It just teaches us." I never knew what she meant. Richard swallowed hard. She loved deeply, and she loved you most of all. A tear slipped down Grace's cheek. She used to keep a photo of a man in a suit, but it was burned at the corner. I never knew who it was. Richard's eyes fell to the bracelet. I gave her that. On her birthday. Grace's eyes widened. For a long, heavy moment, no one spoke. Ethan finally stepped forward, resting a gentle hand on Grace's shoulder. You're not leaving, he said softly. Grace shook her head. I don't belong here. Yes, you do, Richard said quietly. You belong here more than anyone. The next morning, sunlight streamed through the tall windows of the Hale mansion. The dining table, once cold and quiet, now carried the warmth of conversation and laughter. Grace served coffee, but this time, Richard insisted she sit with them. He lifted his cup and smiled faintly. Your mother used to tell me that true wealth isn't in the walls of your house, but in the hearts you open to others. I didn't understand it then. Grace smiled softly. But you do now. He nodded. Yes, because of you. Ethan looked at Grace with a quiet respect. Not pity, not guilt, just admiration. And as they sat together, it no longer felt like an employer and maid, or even a millionaire and his staff. It felt like something simpler, truer. Family. The screen fades to black with the words, love isn't about status or blood, it's about who shows up.